What if everything you were taught to chase is about to make you irrelevant? What if the degree, the title, the experience you're proud of quietly loses its power while the world moves on without asking your permission? That question should make you uncomfortable, because discomfort is the sound of growth knocking. We are standing at the edge of 2726, and value is being redefined in real time, not by machines alone, not by trends alone, but by people who choose to adapt while others cling to what used to work. Here's the truth most people avoid. Being busy is no longer impressive. Being smart is no longer rare. Access to information is no longer an advantage. What matters now is who you become when the rules change. And the rules are changing faster than ever before. The people who thrive are not the loudest or the luckiest. They are the ones who build skills that compound, skills that travel with them no matter where technology goes. Let me give you a reason to lean in. In every generation, there is a small group that becomes indispensable. Not because they know everything, but because they know what matters. They can think clearly when others panic. They can connect when others divide. They can learn when others defend their ego. Those people don't wait for permission to be valuable. They decide to be valuable. Imagine two professionals starting today, same age, same background, same tools. One focuses on titles and comfort. The other focuses on skills and contribution. 5 years from now, one is replaceable, anxious, negotiating from fear. The other is trusted, calm, and in demand. The difference isn't talent. It's intention. This is not about hustling harder. It's about choosing the right skills at the right time. Skills that make you useful in any room. Skills that make people listen when you speak. Skills that turn uncertainty into opportunity. Over the next moments, we're going to talk about 9 skills that will shape who gets ahead in 2026 and beyond. Not trends, not hacks. Skills rooted in human behavior, leadership, and purpose. If you feel a quiet fear right now, good. That fear is clarity arriving. Because once you see what truly makes you valuable, you can never unsee it. And once you start building these skills, you stop chasing relevance, you become it. Stay with me, because what comes next may challenge your habits, your assumptions, and your comfort, but it will give you a clear path to matter when others fade faster than you expect today. What if the most valuable skill in 2026 is not what you know, but how fast you can unlearn who you used to be? That idea scares people, because identity feels safer than adaptation. But safety is no longer the reward. Learning agility is. The first skill that will separate those who matter from those who disappear is the ability to learn, unlearn, and relearn faster than the world changes. Most people say they are lifelong learners. Few actually are. Reading one book a year is not learning. Watching videos without applying anything is not growth. Real learning is uncomfortable because it exposes gaps in your thinking. It forces you to admit that what once made you successful may now be holding you back. And that admission is where value begins. Think about the leaders you trust most. They are not the ones pretending to have all the answers. They are the ones asking better questions. They stay curious when others become defensive. They listen more than they speak. They experiment, fail small, and adjust quickly. That is learning agility in action. Here's a simple story. There was a manager who had been successful for years doing things one way. New technology arrived. Younger employees adapted quickly. Instead of learning, the manager criticized the change. They protected their old methods because it protected their ego. Within 2 years, the team outgrew the manager. Not because the manager was incapable, because they were unwilling to evolve. Value was lost not through incompetence, but through rigidity. Learning agility is not about speed alone. It's about mindset. It's the belief that skills are built, not owned. It's the habit of asking, what do I need to learn next to serve better? When you adopt that mindset, every challenge becomes training. Every mistake becomes feedback. Every conversation becomes data. In 2026, information will be everywhere. What won't be common is the discipline to filter, apply, and adapt that information with purpose. People who can do that become multipliers. They raise the performance of everyone around them. They become the person teams rely on when the playbook stops working. Ask yourself this honestly. When was the last time you deliberately became bad at something new so you could get better at it? If the answer makes you uncomfortable, that's your signal, because comfort is a lagging indicator of growth. Learning agility keeps you relevant when roles disappear and industries shift. The future does not reward those who know the most. It rewards those who learn the fastest and let go the quickest. Build that skill, and you don't just survive change, you lead it. What if your success in 2026 depends less on how smart you are and more on how safe people feel around you? That sounds strange in a world obsessed with IQ data and speed, but the next skill that defines real value is emotional intelligence. The ability to understand yourself, manage your reactions, and read the emotions of others is no longer optional. It is the currency of trust. Here is the uncomfortable truth. People don't leave companies, they leave environments. They don't resist change, they resist feeling ignored, disrespected, or unheard. The people who rise are not the ones who dominate conversations. They are the ones who create spaces where others can do their best work. Emotional intelligence is how that space is built. Think about the last time you felt truly motivated. It wasn't because someone gave you more instructions. It was because someone understood you. They listened. They noticed your effort. They responded instead of reacting. That experience didn't just make you feel good. It made you loyal, engaged, and willing to go further. That is value creation at the human level. There's a story of a leader facing a failing project. Deadlines were missed. Pressure was high. Instead of blaming the team, the leader asked a simple question: what's getting in your way? That question unlocked honesty. One person admitted burnout. Another admitted confusion. The leader adjusted expectations, clarified priorities, and supported the team. The project recovered not because of better strategy, but because of emotional awareness. The leader didn't just manage tasks, they managed people. Emotional intelligence starts with self-awareness, knowing when your ego is talking, knowing when fear is driving your decisions, knowing when to pause instead of react. From there, it grows into empathy, seeing situations from perspectives other than your own, responding with curiosity instead of judgment. In 2026, automation will handle logic faster than any human. What machines cannot replace is emotional nuance. They cannot sense tension in a room. They cannot build trust through presence. They cannot inspire through belief. Humans who master emotional intelligence become the bridge between technology and humanity. Ask yourself this: when pressure hits, do people feel calmer or more anxious around you? That answer reveals your real influence. Emotional intelligence is not soft. It is strategic. It turns conflict into progress. It turns teams into communities. Develop this skill, and people will choose to work with you, follow you, and trust you. Not because they have to, but because they want to. What if the skill that makes you irreplaceable in 2026 is your ability to think clearly when everyone else is overwhelmed? Not faster, not louder, clearer. The fourth skill that will define real value is critical thinking in a noisy world. The ability to slow down your mind, question assumptions, and make sense of complexity is becoming rare, and rarity creates value. We live in an age of instant opinions. Everyone reacts, few reflect. Information hits you nonstop, headlines, alerts, opinions dressed as facts. The danger is not lack of data. The danger is drowning in it. People who cannot think critically become reactive. They follow trends without understanding them. They repeat ideas without examining them. And eventually, they make decisions they don't fully own. Critical thinking begins with one powerful habit: the pause. The pause before you agree, the pause before you share, the pause before you decide. That pause creates space between stimulus and response, and in that space, leadership lives. Consider a team facing a sudden crisis. Revenue drops, pressure rises. Most people rush to quick solutions to feel productive, cut costs, blame marketing, change direction overnight. A critical thinker asks different questions. What is actually happening? What evidence do we have? What assumptions are we making? That approach doesn't slow progress. It prevents regret. There was once a professional known for always having answers. Meetings loved them at first. Over time, trust faded. Why? Because their answers were often shallow. Another professional rarely spoke first. They listened. They asked precise questions. When they finally spoke, people leaned in. Their ideas were grounded, thoughtful, and effective. One was impressive. The other was invaluable. In 2026, speed without thinking will be dangerous. Algorithms will push extremes. Echo chambers will reward certainty, not accuracy. The people who can step outside the noise, analyze patterns, and connect dots across disciplines will stand out immediately. They will be the ones leaders turn to when decisions actually matter. Critical thinking is not about being negative or skeptical of everything. It is about being intentional. It is about understanding context, consequences, and trade-offs. It is the discipline of asking, what problem are we really trying to solve? Ask yourself this: do you seek information that confirms you or challenges you? Do you value being right or being accurate? Your answers shape your future relevance. When you build critical thinking, you stop being easily manipulated. You stop casing every new idea. You become grounded. And people trust grounded individuals, because in uncertain times, clarity is the most valuable skill of all. What if your value in 2026 is measured not by how well you speak, but by how deeply people feel understood after you do? The fifth skill that will set you apart is communication with purpose. Not more words, not louder words. Clear, human, intentional communication that moves people to trust and act. Most communication fails for one simple reason: we speak to impress, not to connect. We explain, we defend, we persuade, but we forget to relate. In a world full of messages, the rare skill is meaning. People don't follow information. They follow clarity. Think about the leaders you remember. It's not their slides you recall. It's the feeling they left you with. They could take complexity and make it simple without making it shallow. They could say the hard thing without making you feel small. That is communication as a leadership skill. There was a team struggling with constant misunderstandings. Meetings were long. Emails were confusing. Frustration was high. One person changed the dynamic. They started every conversation with why it matters. They ended every conversation with what happens next. Suddenly, alignment improved. Not because people got smarter, but because communication got clearer. Purposeful communication starts with listening. Real listening. Not waiting for your turn to speak, but listening to understand what the other person cares about. When people feel heard, they lower their defenses. When defenses drop, real conversation begins. In 2026, technology will generate content endlessly. Words will be cheap. What will not be cheap is trust, and trust is built through consistent, honest communication, saying what you mean, doing what you say, admitting when you don't know. That transparency creates credibility. Great communicators adjust their message without losing their values. They know their audience. They choose language that invites, not intimidates. They tell stories because stories are how humans remember meaning, not data points. Ask yourself this: when you speak, do people feel clearer or more confused? When you write, do people know what to do next? Communication is not measured by your effort. It is measured by the impact on the listener. Build this skill, and you become a bridge between ideas and action, between vision and execution, between people who disagree but still need to move forward together. In a noisy future, the person who can communicate with purpose becomes a signal. And signals are what people follow when everything else feels like noise. What if the reason you stop growing in 2026 is not lack of talent, but lack of courage to take responsibility? The sixth skill that will define true value is ownership. Real ownership. The kind that doesn't wait for permission, doesn't hide behind excuses, and doesn't point fingers when things go wrong. Most people want authority without accountability. They want influence without responsibility. But value is created by those who say, this is on me, even when it's uncomfortable. Especially when it's uncomfortable. Ownership is the moment you stop asking whose fault it is and start asking what I can do about it. Think about any high-performing team. There's always someone who steps forward when things fall apart, not to control but to care, not to blame but to fix. That person doesn't have the best title. They have the strongest sense of responsibility, and everyone knows it. Here's a simple story. Two employees see the same problem. A process is broken, deadlines are missed. One says, that's not my job. The other says, this shouldn't be happening, let me see what I can do. Months later, one is still complaining. The other is being trusted with bigger opportunities. Same environment, different mindset. Ownership starts internally. It means taking responsibility for your growth, your reactions, your results. It means saying, if I don't like where I am, I must change how I show up. That mindset is rare because it removes excuses. And when excuses disappear, progress at 26, roles will shift fast. Job descriptions will lag behind reality. The people who wait to be told what to do will feel lost. The people who take ownership will create their own relevance. They will see gaps and fill them. They will anticipate problems instead of reacting to them. Leaders don't look for perfection. They look for ownership. The skill also builds trust. When you admit mistakes early, people relax. When you take responsibility publicly, people respect you. Ownership creates psychological safety because others know you won't disappear when things get hard. Ask yourself this honestly. When something fails, do you explain or do you examine? Do you defend your image or do you improve the outcome? The answer reveals how valuable you are becoming. Ownership is not about control. It's about commitment. Commitment to the mission, to the people, to the standard you hold yourself to even when no one is watching. Develop the skill and you stop waiting for the future to reward you. You start shaping it. And in a world full of excuses, the person who takes ownership becomes impossible to ignore. What if the skill that keeps you relevant in 2026 is not how much you know, but how well you work with people who think nothing like you? The seventh skill that defines lasting value is collaboration across differences, not agreement, not harmony. The ability to move forward together even when perspectives clash. The world is becoming more connected and more divided at the same time. Different cultures, generations, values, and working styles are colliding daily. Many people see this as friction. Valuable people see it as fuel. Because progress rarely comes from echo chambers. It comes from tension handled with respect. Most collaboration fails because people confuse collaboration with consensus. They think working together means thinking the same way. It doesn't. It means committing to a shared goal while allowing different paths toward it. When people feel forced to agree, they disengage. When they feel respected, they contribute. Picture a room filled with talented individuals. Each one confident. Each one convinced they're right. The project stalls. Now picture another room. Same talent, but one difference. People are curious instead of defensive. They ask, help me understand. They challenge ideas, not identities. That room doesn't just move faster, it moves further. There was a project once that brought together people from completely different backgrounds. Engineers, creatives, analysts, operators. Early meetings were tense. Everyone spoke a different language. Instead of choosing a side, one person focused on translation. They connected ideas, reframed conflicts, and reminded everyone of the shared purpose. That person became the most valuable voice in the room, without being the loudest. Collaboration across differences requires humility, the willingness to admit you don't see the full picture. It requires confidence too, the courage to speak up without needing to win. This balance is rare, and rarity creates opportunity. In 2026, complex problems will dominate. No single skill set will be enough. The people who can integrate perspectives, align incentives, and build bridges between silos will become indispensable. They will be trusted not just to execute, but to unify. Ask yourself this. When someone disagrees with you, do you listen to respond or listen to learn? Do you seek to prove your point or improve the outcome? The answer shapes your influence. Collaboration is not about being nice. It's about being effective together. It's about choosing progress over pride. When you master this skill, you don't just belong in the room. You elevate the room. And in a future defined by complexity, the person who can bring people together across differences will always have a seat at the table, no matter how fast the world changes around them. What if the skill that defines your value in 2026 is your ability to stay calm when everything feels uncertain? The eighth skill is resilience with purpose. Not toughness for show. Not pretending everything is fine. Real resilience. The kind that allows you to bend without breaking and keep moving forward when clarity is missing. Most people misunderstand resilience. They think it means pushing harder, ignoring fatigue, suppressing emotion. That's not resilience. That's denial. Real resilience starts with honesty. Acknowledging pressure without being controlled by it. Accepting reality without surrendering belief. Think about the moments that shape careers and lives. They are rarely the easy wins. They are the setbacks, the rejection, the unexpected failure. Some people shrink in those moments. Others grow. The difference is not circumstance, it's meaning. People who endure give hardship a purpose. There was a time when a team lost something they worked years to build. Morale collapsed, fear spread. One person didn't pretend everything was okay. They said, this hurts and it matters. Then they added, and we will decide what this makes us. That reframed the loss. Pain turned into resolve. That team didn't just recover, they transformed. In 2026, uncertainty will be normal. Career paths will zigzag. Stability will come in waves, not guarantees. Those who rely on certainty will feel anxious. Those who build resilience will feel grounded. Because resilience is not about controlling the future, it's about controlling your response to it. Purpose-driven resilience means knowing why you keep going. When the why is clear, the how becomes manageable. Without purpose, stress feels meaningless. With purpose, pressure becomes training. This is why people with a clear sense of contribution recover faster. They are not just protecting their comfort. They are protecting something they believe in. Ask yourself this. When things go wrong, do you ask why me or what now? That shift changes everything. One question traps you in frustration. The other opens the door to growth. Resilience also spreads. When you stay steady, others borrow your calm. When you remain hopeful without being unrealistic, people trust you. That trust becomes influence. Build this skill and setbacks stop defining you. They refine you. You stop fearing change because you know you can handle it. And in a future where unpredictability is guaranteed, the person who can remain resilient with purpose becomes a source of strength others naturally follow. This is not about surviving storms. It's about learning how to navigate them again and again without losing who you are or why you started. What if the final skill that defines your value in 2026 is not what you achieve, but what you refuse to compromise? The ninth skill is integrity-driven decision-making. In a world moving faster than ethics can keep up, integrity becomes a competitive advantage, not a moral slogan. Every day you will face small choices that seem insignificant. Cut a corner. Stay silent. Choose convenience over honesty. Most damage is never done by one big failure. It is done by many small justifications stacked on top of each other. People don't lose trust suddenly. They lose it slowly, quietly, and permanently. Think about the people you respect most. You may not agree with them. You may not even like them all the time, but you trust them. Their behavior is consistent. Their values don't shift based on who is watching. That consistency creates safety, and safety creates influence. There was a professional offered a fast promotion with an unspoken condition. Look the other way. Everyone knew it was how things worked. Instead of saying no dramatically, they asked a simple question. Can we succeed without doing it this way? The room went quiet. The answer was uncomfortable, but it changed the direction of the decision. That person didn't just protect their values. They raised the standard for everyone else. In 2026, transparency will be unavoidable. Records are permanent. Screenshots last forever. Reputations travel faster than resumes. Skill alone will not protect you if people cannot trust your judgment. Integrity is how you earn long-term relevance. Integrity-driven decision-making means aligning actions with purpose, even when it costs you something in the short term. It means choosing the harder right over the easier wrong. Not because you want to look good, but because you want to sleep well. Because you want people to believe you tomorrow. Ask yourself this. If your decisions were made public, would you be proud or defensive? That question cuts through excuses. Integrity is not about perfection. It is about course correction, admitting mistakes early, fixing what you break, learning instead of hiding. When people know your values are stable, they relax, they take risks, they speak honestly. That environment attracts talent, loyalty, and opportunity. Integrity scales trust, and trust scales everything else. Build this skill, and your value will outlast trends, tools, and titles. Because when the world moves fast and lines blur, the person who chooses integrity becomes a compass. And people will always follow someone who knows where they stand. That clarity is rare, powerful, and unforgettable in uncertain times ahead. What if everything you build in 2026 depends on one final skill, the ability to create meaning beyond yourself? The 10th skill that completes real value is purpose-driven leadership. Not leadership by title, not leadership by control, leadership by example, intention, and service. At some point, success stops being enough. Achievement without meaning feels empty. Influence without purpose feels fragile. The people who truly matter in the future are those who understand that leadership is not about being followed. It is about taking responsibility for something bigger than you. Purpose-driven leadership starts with clarity, knowing what you stand for and why it matters. When that clarity exists, decisions become simpler. Not easier, but simpler. You stop chasing applause. You stop reacting to every opinion. You start acting in alignment with a cause, a mission, a belief that outlives your comfort. Think about the leaders who changed you. They didn't motivate you with fear. They inspired you with belief. They saw potential before it was visible. They challenged you without demeaning you. They reminded you that your work mattered, not just to results, but to people. There was a moment when a team felt exhausted and disconnected. Goals were met, but energy was gone. One person stood up and asked a different question. Who are we helping by doing this work? That question reignited meaning. People remembered why they started. Performance followed not because of pressure, but because of purpose. In 2026, people will not give their best to systems that don't care about them. They will give their best to leaders who do. Purpose-driven leaders create environments where people feel seen, safe, and challenged. They don't demand loyalty. They earn it. This skill requires courage. the courage to serve instead of dominate, the courage to listen instead of command, the courage to take responsibility for culture, not just outcomes. Leadership is not about being right. It is about doing right consistently. Ask yourself this. If you disappeared tomorrow, would the people around you be better because you were there? That question defines leadership. Not impact on paper, but impact on people. When you lead with purpose, your skills align. Learning becomes intentional. Communication becomes meaningful. Integrity becomes natural. Resilience becomes sustainable. Purpose connects every skill into something powerful. The future does not need more bosses. It needs more leaders who care. Leaders who build trust. Leaders who act with courage. Leaders who understand that value is not taken, it is given. If you build these skills, you will not fear 2026. You will shape it. And the greatest measure of your value will not be what you achieve, but who you help become better along the way. This is where it ends, and this is where it begins.